Hey guys and girls, there are some things that you just have to have on a boat. There's other things you put on a boat that you kind of like them. One of the things you got to have a motor. Well, I don't guess you have to have a motor. I guess you can have a couple paddles and that'll be all right. But if you want a big bass boat like this, you need a big black Mercury like that right there on the back of it. There are things that are kind of nice that you don't have to have, like our lights. We've got a really neat light system right here. Turn those lights on there. We got our power turned off. Yeah, we got our power turned off. We got a really neat light system inside. You do not have to have those mood lights, but if you're like me, mood lights are cool. Well, I'm going to show you a couple things today that I think are pretty essential. One, it's kind of neat and it's kind of, you can get by without it, but it's a very neat deal, and I'll show you that at the end of this video. But the main thing I'm going to do is show you how to install a VT2 ventilation system in your live well. I got my son Jamie here. Jamie runs Jimmy Houston Marine. And he can fix or repair or install just about anything in the world. And we've installed these before. But if you tournament fish, you have to have a V2 ventilation system. This thing helps oxygenate your water. It keeps it naturally cool. It removes metabolic gases from the live well, and it keeps your fish alive and stronger. If you tournament fish at all, bass fish or crappie fish, you've got to have this in your live well system. I mean, you just simply have to. There has been literally hundreds of thousands of dollars won and lost by dead fish. Crappie fishing tournaments are even more critical because the weights are so close together from winning to second place to third place on down. If you're just fishing, like Jamie and I went fishing this morning, we caught about 45 fish. And we kept, I think, what'd you say, Jamie, 7 or 8 little bass that we brought in and filleted so we could eat for dinner tonight. But if you just fish and keep fishing your live well, if you have a pontoon boat, it doesn't matter. You need to put a V2 system in it, especially this time of the year. This time of the year, it is almost impossible to keep bass alive. And I've got a good oxygen system in this Ranger boat. I've got double pump live wells, pumping fresh water in, everything. And during the tournaments, we had ice, but this makes a huge difference. And Jamie, let's show them how to install that thing there. You know, I've often said that when Chris always says when I say we is going to do something, she means her, my Asian wife, we. So Jamie and I are going to install. What are we going to do there, Jamie?
Just picking out the spot to put this. I just kind of center them between the back, and I can't really center them in the middle of that because you're going to be interfering with your latch here. So I just kind of get a measurement between the bottom of the latch and the bottom of that, and stick it in there. So
it doesn't really matter that it's in the center. It can be just as long as you got one beside each other. If you got one big live well lid, you just put it on one lid. Now I've got a 2-lid system that I always put in my Ranger boats because we fished for years with tournament partners, and so you have your partners fish on one side, your fish on the other side. Now in tournaments we use Marshalls and stuff like that, so we don't need them. But if you have one lid, you can just put them side by side and it works just fine. What it does, anytime your boat is moving, even trolling motor speed, it brings air in and pumps air back out. So you have air coming in and flowing out, and it keeps the system good. And Jamie's just gonna drill a hole, right, Jamie?
Drill a hole.
A big hole.
Following the directions, once you get down in there, you'll run those your hole saw backwards.
Yeah,
it'll kind of cut through your carpet. Otherwise, it may suck it up.
I didn't really say it was going backwards.
Mostly, if it's in a pretty new boat here, if it's in an older boat where the carpet may be loose,
yeah,
it could
pull your carpet
up. Yeah.
And you can't actually put a trash bag on. You need that to catch your trash and stuff.
Just like that.
Yeah, you got now. He's got a little trash in the live well. We'll just vacuum that out. That's really not a problem at all. And once you've got that hole there, everything else gets pretty easy.
Right. You'll have to drill 4 more holes. But
now
you get your 2 vents, and then a bag of screws to put in there.
And Jamie, that needs to be turned where the open ends are to the front of the boat and the back of the boat, right?
Right. And you can just use that as your template for your next 4 holes. You can either mark them or take the appropriate size drill bit and just drill down through each hole
as
too.
they're sitting there.
Yeah.
It's really an easy installation job. It doesn't cost much. If you tournament fish, you just have to have this. I mean, you just have to have it. I've had dead fish cost me thousands and thousands of dollars. Everybody that's ever tournament fished very long has.
What I like to do, not just on these, but any time you're drilling multiple holes, is as you drill a hole, put a screw in. That way everything stays lined up. Because if you get off just a little bit, then it gets a little difficult sometimes.
Really almost no way you can make an error if you're doing it the way Jamie's doing it right there, where you're putting your screws in every single time. And it's got lock nuts that go on the bottom of it. Those don't ever come loose. I've had them on every boat for years and years and years, and they don't ever come loose. I mean, you just put them in there and forget about them, and they work perfectly. Okay, that's one of them installed there. Now we're going to come in there and just put the lock nuts on the bottom of it. All right, and then it's just a matter of putting the lock nuts on the bottom, and that one's installed. Just that simple and easy. And probably most people will probably drop one of those nuts. Jamie never does it, being the professional boat installer that he is.
Just to practice.
We had those had fish in those live wells this morning, which is kind of cool. They've turned into fillets right now.
That's right.
Did a little lake management today. We took out 7 or 8 bass or 9 bass that were under 14 inches. That helps the lake by a lot.
Started on there for it.
Did you just drop one? Oh, you dropped 3.
Well, I thought I had it started far enough. When I tilted it forward, it'd come off. Started, then we'll tack them
You just dropped one, but you dropped it twice.
No, there's a different one actually. All right, there's all started now. There's my little wrench.
You know, it's kind of interesting. You see the Ranger boat decals on the inside of the lid of a Ranger boat. Actually, years ago in a Bassmaster Classic, I was the one that started that little deal right there. Because in a Bassmaster Classic, where you come in, you go around an auditorium, and you pull in and you get your fish out of the live well. And of course, they've got camera guys that jump up in the boat with you, and start looking at the fish as you're pulling them out of the live well. And you pull your smallest one out. And if you got a big one, you save him. It's the last one you put out. And I thought, you know, you got that lid right there, and so I got a couple of Ranger boat decals and put on the inside of my lid. I was the very first one that did that, and so, man, Forrest Wood thought that was like the greatest thing in the world. He said, man, that's a great idea, Jimmy. He said, we're getting all that additional TV exposure, says Ranger boats. And so Forrest was one of those guys in building Ranger boats that if you came up with an idea, he just initiated it into the system. You know, most new ideas, they put it in for next year's models. Forrest would go back and it'd be in next week. And so within a week or so, all Ranger boats started coming out with Ranger boat decals on the lid of those live wells. And you know, a lot of boats are sold that are never fished at a tournament, but they still got a Ranger boat decal. And those that are, every time you open that live well, there you see it right there, Ranger boats.
And that's how it's done.
That's how it's done. And the easy part is just repeat step 1, right?
Right.
Backwards to start with. And then kind of a good workout for your wrist too.
Yeah.
All right, while Jamie's getting involved in that right there and doing that right there, I want to show you what else we're going to install that's kind of neat. This is a neat deal right here. I'll bring it back there. I was doing one of our devotionals the other day on our Catch of the Day daily devotional, and I mentioned an item that we used to have in that the tip about putting a magnet on the front of your boat to hold your scissors and your pliers and your cutters, so you'd have them in one exact spot all the time, plus the fact that you wouldn't have them rolling all over your boat. And if you're running down the lake 60 or 70 miles an hour, normally they'll all bounce back and they'll be back here where you're sitting, back in the passenger areas, not up on the front of the boat where you really need them. Now, we've got places we can put them. They're on the step and then way up to the front. Most of us don't put them there, except the trailer. We have them thrown on the floor. And so I mentioned this. I said the company that made these probably wasn't even still in business anymore, but actually they are. And one of my buddies that's from our YouTube subscriptions, and by the way, if you're not on Jimmy Used Outdoors YouTube, you need to get on there. If you're not on that Catch of the Day channel, this was actually a deal we did on the Catch of the Day channel. One of my buddies on there from up in Kokomo, Indiana, Dave Galt. Dave works at Harbor Freight. And he said, Dave, he said, Jimmy, we actually sell those at Harbor Freight. We actually sell those at Harbor Freight. And they'll hold whatever you want. They'll hold it right there so it doesn't bounce around. And we're going to install this also. Now, we'll have to get a couple of screws. Now, what we're going to do is just going to mount that up in the front of the boat. And actually, he sent me a couple of different sizes. The larger size seems to work a little bit better. But he sent me a couple of sizes. And all we're going to do is we're going to take and just attach that down up there, and we're going to screw it down to the boat where it's like this, so we can throw our pliers and needle nose, and as we're running down the lake 60 or 70 miles an hour, they're going to stay right there in that one spot, and we know where they are all the time. So that's a really nice, good magnet. And I don't even know how much they cost to Harbor Freight. That's a 3-inch. I'd get the larger size. Yeah, the 2-inch, which is that's an inch smaller, that's a third less, so that's quite a bit of difference. And I don't know how to figure a third less. I remember back when I was in college, I don't drink, but back when I was in college, some of my buddies, when they first came out with light beer, they actually invented light beer way back when I was in college in the early 60s. And it said it had a third less, fewer calories, light beer. And one of my buddies said, wow, that's fantastic. That means we can drink 3 times as many beers. And that's kind of the way you cipher in college, I guess, especially when you're talking about beer. But this is 2/3 the size of this one, so I'd get the large one. I don't know what it costs. Dave sent these to me just as a present, and I appreciate them. And we're going to install that in here in a minute. And all we got to do is I'm going to go in there and find a screw for it, and we're going to attach it up there by my front seat, and it'll hold my cutters, my pliers, my scissors, anything that's metal will stick to that right there. You can actually throw your hooks if you got an extra worm hook or something you took off and changed sizes, throw it down on that, and it'll hold to that magnet and stay right there in one spot. So that works pretty good. I think the ones that we had back in the old days completely filled that circle. I don't think there was any gap like there is on that. And I don't think it works if the other side of it, that's just opposite in fact. So it's got to be on this front side. So you got to have to mount it up like that right there. Anyway, we're going to mount that. And that's not something that you have to have on a bass boat, like you have to have the VT2s, but it is a nice accessory to have on a bass boat. It really, really helps to keep track of where your scissors, your pliers, and your cutters, and your needle nose are. The perfect place. Like I said, you can throw hooks, spinnerbaits, they'll hold spinnerbaits. You can actually set 3 or 4 of them up there and have them in 3 or 4 different places if you want. We're going to install that one. That's going to be easy too. Jamie, what do you got to say, buddy?
It's all done. Either vacuum it up or go right across the lake and get your buddy to
run down 70 miles an hour. Have a guy do right there, and it'll all fly out the back. We'll vacuum that up here in a little bit. I like to keep my boat nice and clean, as you notice. But that's it, and that will make a huge, huge difference. One set of these, if you fish a tournament, and even if you don't fish tournaments, you get back in, you get ready to flay your fish, look down there, and you have 3 or 4 dead fish in your live well. You look at their gill plates. The gill plates are white. You just got to throw them away. Total waste of fish. Total waste of dinner. And so even if you just pleasure fish, if you use your live wells, you need these on there. It's just one of those absolutely essential items that you got to have on. Let's find a screw and install the magnet. All right, now we're going to install this right now. And that's a real simple install. All we got to do is take one screw to install it. That'll be a good spot right there, son. That'll work. You can get down there if I got my seat in, which I fish a lot more with the seat nowadays. Don't fish with the seat in the tournament. This all it is right here. You just use a self-tapping screw. And he's going to self-tap in there. Once you get it started, it goes pretty easy. It takes just a little bit. And that's it. That's the installation on them right there. And like I said, that's a 3-inch. Now, Dave from up in Kokomo. Dave got these. He works at Harbor Freight. You can get these at Harbor Freight, my favorite tool store. I spend, ain't no telling how much money I spend at Harbor Freight. I've got all my big toolboxes and full of tools, and pretty much all of them come from Harbor Freight. But that's where you get them. It's one of the easiest things in the world. It's stuck there. There's some more over there, Jamie. What about those scissors? Now, you can run down a boat. Here's the cool thing. You can run down the lake 60, 70 mile an hour, and they're going to stay right there. They don't leave. They're going to be right there. And that's one of the neat things about it. And they're always where you want them. If you want to set one on each side of your boat, that's fine. I don't know what they cost. I imagine $3, $4, $5 a piece. Do you have any idea, Jamie? I don't know, but they're not very expensive. But I want to thank Dave for sending those to me. Guys and girls, these are two things that can really enhance your bass boat. Without a doubt, the ventilation system is mandatory if you fish club tournaments, if you fish the Bassmaster Classic or the FLW Championship. Makes no difference. You need that ventilation system in the boat. If you're going to keep fish in your live well to take home and eat, you need that ventilation system. Guys and girls, go out there and have you a great one today. We caught them this morning. I think we'll take this boat, go catch a few this evening. Later. I love you.